Hey, everybody. Larry Bailey, Mortgage Workflow Partners. And yes, my voice is gone. I lost it Thursday, so this is going to be really rough. Like, I'm not lying. Like, if you guys want to just bail because I sound like crap, I don't blame you. But I do want to share with you what we're going to be going over today. Um, you sound like I feel, John. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and oh, actually, I'm already sharing screen because that's how clipper I am. So if you're wondering why I sound like this, I'm wondering that too. I lost my voice Sunday. Pretty sure it had something to do with sinus infection or something like that. And so this is what you get. I'm really, really sorry. In the meantime, I've got an agenda together for today. Trying and keep this to the point and focused, right, for the groups that are here. This month is always tough. It's tough in the industry right now. There's a lot of folks who are thinking that interest rates are going to be down back in the fives. Obviously, that's not the case. And if you didn't know that, yeah, go talk to your salespeople. So I think what's important to really focus on here is what can we do with the remaining 3 weeks, right? We got about 3 weeks. That puts us right before Christmas. And there ain't nothing that gets done between Christmas and New Year's, except a few closings. Um, So I thought today would be a good event. I didn't really promote it at all. Um, I think next week will probably be the final one for the year. I haven't decided this yet. But I do want to, give you a heads up, keep watch. I'll try and make sure I give you an update on the community. If, when we pull the plug for the rest of the year, I just, time's running out kind of a thing. Speaking of running out, 24.3 is coming out. Who's ready? Is everybody ready? What's everybody doing? I don't know if you want to type it in or if you want me to take you off mute if you have anything to ask or say. But how's everybody doing with um, getting ready for web to be launched from desktop? Are you disabling that in the persona? Are you just kind of letting it go? How are you dealing with this? It's the one thing I called out in the very first release notes review for desktop. So a lot of people are saying they're disabling it. They're disabling the ability for the persona to get to the web. I do want to say this, just be sure that you're not disabling your vendor, your POS vendor. So the big POS, my understanding is from hearing this from a client, is the big POS. Is anybody using the big POS, by the way? It's a it's an alternative to Consumer Connect. It's an alternative to nCino. It's a pure API based POS. So that's the only company I know that's one of your lenders, Jen, is on the big POS, so they're not going to be able to disable this. That's the way it's been shared with me, according to a client who talked to Matt Van Fossen over there. John says we're running with it, introducing web version to our users, supplement desktop version, and we're going to go with it. That's great, John. Good luck with that. John, how are you doing it, John? Are you doing card-based views? Are you doing input forms? What does it look like? Because recently I checked in with some really large lenders out there, names that we would know. I have to talk softer. Maybe I'll talk closer to the mic. And they're not using card-based views, and I legit freaked out. I'm like, input forms. All right, John. So I'm going to ask you a question. Are you consciously not choosing cards versus input forms, even though you can put your input forms into cards? Like, is that a conscious choice? Is that just something that hadn't been considered, or what? I'm curious. Not a conscious choice. All right. So I'm going to kind of get on a little bit of a soapbox here, and I want to really advocate for your success, John, and for everybody else out there. When I've shown, and I know I've showed like everybody this. Oh shucks. Let me see if I can get into a test file. Sorry, guys. I'm not in my normal account because I was prepping you for workflow rules. I was going to show you how I was going to give you a demo of what I did. Yeah, this is good enough. So, so I really want everybody to appreciate the fact that Imagine you don't have, all you see is the custom is quick qual and a couple of other things over here in the custom left nav. So John, when you went through, did you build out a custom left nav? So when your users do go to the web, they get a really specific experience for their workflow? This is an important part of the conversation, gang. When you're looking at the web, I really want you to reimagine. Very little in left nav. Okay. Um, so here's my feedback for everybody. The whole point of cards is to be able to do exactly what all of our users have been demanding from us for the last 20 years, which is to put all of their information that they really want into one place so they can see it all at the same time, right? Tell me that's not what everybody's said to you like since forever. And so what cards allow you to do is to take all of these input forms, every single one you see over here. And within FHA management, there's four different cards, pardon me, four different cards, and you can put all of these into a single card-based view. It's not a good example. That's the one I want. And the reason why this is an important part is because if you understand your team members' workflow, they really don't need all these other input forms. And so I'll give you a really good use case and I did this earlier in our Mastering Admins course today. I said to the teams when we were talking about this, I said to the team, I said, I want you to look at the bar of some origination, and I want you to tell me what you see. And so we were kind of talking about this, and they're like, okay, well, we see this stuff. I'm like, when was the last time a user had to manually input any information in this section right here? And the correct answer would be 0, right? We administratively serve all this information up. Why would someone come to the bar summary to see borrower information, credit information? And we're still scrolling. Here's verification of information where they've authorized, right? Again, this should all be third party. They're not making the authorization here. They're doing it somewhere else, and here you're just visualizing it. So my point is that when you go through and you're looking at these input forms in web, I want you to start seeing things in cards. I really do. This is a card. This is a card. This is a card. And the reason why this is important this way is because by looking at it in that light, you'll start to imagine what can be here on this screen. And you can start to imagine that over here, if you've got the ability to segregate out what input forms they see, because this is custom, you could do this at the persona level, right? And so I can now effectively make sure that if I have an LO experience, only people with the persona that I want to have this can see this. I no longer have to use any other third-party tech to make things dynamically change. It's just here. And you know what? If the workflow changes, or if I've got a certain branch or a certain channel that has a specific workflow, I can do all that in here. I can give processors their own specific space of cards, which are input forms. So I want to share this vision with you because it's really powerful. And I don't see people using this a lot. And nobody can really tell me why, other than they never really thought of it that way. So I'm going to continue to talk about this. And if you have any questions about using this and the concepts behind it, let me know. We'll talk about it. I'm going to be launching I think I've said this before last week, maybe. But if I didn't, if you weren't here and you didn't listen to the replay, I get it. But let me just be clear with you. I'm relaunching in January next year. I'm relaunching everything that we're doing here in the community into a platform called Mastering Encompass. It's a native app on your iPhone. It's going to be a new domain. It's going to be really slick. We're going to get into that on the launch party next year. The reason why I bring this up is because on that platform, I can actually share things like this. I can actually share this input form in a native way. You can just go grab it, download it, and be done. Same thing with business rules. Same thing with code. It supports code block. It also supports group chats. So one of the things that's really cool about our community here is sometimes we'd get in these little mini chats and we can kind of spitball ideas back and forth. You can do that on Mighty. It's a little bit weird. And it's a little bit hard to find. And so I'm rebranding, relaunching, because I want to always try to do better. How does this tie into this conversation? This ties in because as admins, I know the one thing that your companies will tell you is that you have to go do these other things and you don't have time to really consider what's possible. You don't have time to really think about what's possibly better for everyone because you're busy with your head down and fixing things or dealing with 300 pages of release notes and you're by yourself or you got a small team. So I get all that. I really, really do. So that's why this is important to find the time and advocate for yourself for the time to really think about, why do we constantly take what we have in desktop and put it into web? It's because we don't know any better. These are ways that you can do it. So, but you only know this if you know their workflow. But I do want, John, going back to you, I want you to think about as you're going through this pilot, I want you to really engage with your teams that are using web and start to say, why do you need that piece of data there? And they're going to say, I don't need it or I do. If they don't need it, get the hell out of there. Focus on what they actually need to manipulate or manage. And, and you're going to be in a much better place and they're going to love it. They're going to actually love the fact that they only need to worry about what they need to worry about. And if the business changes the workflow, no big deal. You can change it real easy. You got it, John. Thanks for, by the way, thanks for getting me going on this one. Chris says, I couldn't take everything from desktop and rebuild it in the web. And you don't want to. The reason why you don't want to, Chris, to rebuild, Jill, I'll answer your question in a second. The reason why you don't want to is because it's not desktop. And one of the things that I see, like we right now, we're supporting over 22 different clients from very, very large down to really small. And the one thing that's homogenous is we're all doing mortgages. It's really the same business. It's just different levels of scale. And so when I look at workflow, in the biggest of companies, I still have processors using Outlook to flag emails. And I'm like, well, there's a great opportunity for workflow tasks, right? Well, how do we get there? It takes time and planning and thoughtfulness. And it's what we do all day as a company. Yeah, and John, embracing the web is great. I just want to make sure that that the folks that are embracing the web are not trying to just take their big pile of stuff from desktop and put it in web. Take the moment to reimagine, why do we need this? It's a clean break. Why do we need this? Why are we doing it that way? Challenge that. Someone's got to say that in the group. Someone's got to be that voice. It's like a debate club. Somebody's got to take the opposite side. Even if they don't believe in it, they still got to fake it, to at least say it out loud, like, why do we need that? Somebody's got to do it. Usually that's me in the room. All right. Jill, you asked the question. I promised I'd get to you. So the cards are just access to the LO forms in one spot. The cards represent input forms. These cards can also hold other cards. So how deep can you go? As deep as you want. How deep should you go? 3 layers, right? So 3 layers. Layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. If I were to add more cards in here, I'd get lost. Again, follow the rules of Inception, the movie. You won't go wrong. 3 layers. Yeah, Jill, John, it is like having a bunch of input forms in one form, except carve out what you want. Like this right here, this is the bottom of the URLA, or in some cases, the bottom of the itemization, right? So on the 2015 itemization, we see this right here, but it's really the bottom of the 1003 URLA. That's really what it is. And you know that because if you go into the data templates inside of desktop, this does not appear on the bottom of the itemization. ICE just made some magic and put it there. If you go into the fees section, you'll see down here, see it's not there, right? Because it's over in this, come on web, it's over in this spot called cost details. It's actually called qualify the borrower, the native card. I just changed the name. Chris says, so a card you custom form. So there are some custom forms. This one's a custom form. This is a customization of the native credit. This is native, this is native, this is native. I have some other stuff I've done, but It's just not loaded in this environment. Chris Lewis says, "Are you linking directly to you or like?" No, no, no. This is native, gang. ICE did this work. Thanks, ICE. ICE did all this for us. So rock and roll. Candace says, 2 years ago, I was the camp of give me a translation tool for custom forms, but then I saw the card view. Right, Candace? I mean, can you ever not see cards at this point? Like everything to me is a card. Yeah, Chris, it's a mix, right? And kind of have at it. This view over here I did. This is basically how I sell the executives. Like if you're having trouble convincing your company to use web, use this. Like take a screenshot of this and be like, hey guys, what about this? And they're going to be like, oh yeah, I want that. Workflow task, quick qual, lock request, fee itemization, ATRQM, LE's pages 1, 2, 3, bar summary just because it makes them feel good. And then your compliance review, right? If they want to come down and from there, they can go over and they can, pardon me, run their services, get their MI quote, run their dual AUS, right? And all along, what I'm telling people is if you need stuff from somebody, freaking make a task. Sorry to curse, but and it's kind of cursy. But make a task. As a reminder, this whole thing, this task thing is getting revamped in 24.3. Don't forget that. Specifically, task groups and tasks, the architecture is changing, and it's just going to be tasks. And you can make task lists. I went over this last week. If you want me to go over it again, let me know. Jill says, I'm worried about one of our lenders that just moved to Encompass in February, but now wants to move to the web with the LOs. We built out so much. Yeah, Jill, you're gonna have to talk to them. Right? Again, it's your job to convince them. I know I can convince them. So, I've been convincing people to use web since, I don't know, March. So how did I do it? You have to show them value for their workflow. And so even though they're doing stuff on desktop and you built all kinds of custom forms for them, which maybe it was necessary, maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But you have to understand that maybe the reason why they did that or asked for that was because they have a specific workflow that Encompass Desktop natively didn't support, which is fine. But now you have to reimagine, how are they going to leverage Encompass Web? Remember, this is really, really important, super important. Leveraging web settings is not the same as web. So when you're looking at web, it's really important to make sure that we understand that all of these workflow rules have nothing to do with actually using Encompass Web. Nothing. Zero. That's just Encompass. So again, I show just some helpful feedback. I show the teams like this is what's possible, right? This is what's possible with card views. This is easy for people to understand. This part over here is easy for people to get. Whoa, this part over here is easy for people to get. So Joe, good luck. I get the situation you're in, but you're definitely not starting over. You're just re-engineering their workflow to be more, hopefully, more efficient and effective on web. All right, great conversation, gang. This has been really good. Yeah, again, it's not a brand new thing. 3 projects last month. We did a 2-month review on 3 very large lenders from top to bottom, and we're moving their sales processing teams into using the web, but not entirely. Remember, it's a bifurcated process. Usually most folks that work in sales and processing, part of the time you might work on web, part of the time you might work on desktop. It just depends on what you're doing. It's important as admins that you guys are aligned with making sure that the work that's being performed is being performed in the best possible place. If the part of that workflow is really focused highly on tasks, honestly, you're going to get your best experience in web because you can build your task workspace to act the way you need it to. If you're relying on your workflow with a lot of SDK-based automation that only exists in desktop, desktop's going to be your boy, right? That's where you're going to hang out. So you got to figure out your workflow first. Candace, yeah, we talked about this, right? You'd love to get started and you don't have the time. We got asked to bring on 3 new Encompass admins. So, my company's growing almost every month at this point because we're freeing up companies from that daily task thing. So, Candace, someone like you can go do this big major stuff. This is where the money is. And so we're helping companies, offload some of their admin stuff. So to us, so we can make sure it gets managed properly, and then they can go do the big stuff, and we can give guidance on that too. Some other things I want to talk about today. Make sure you're leveraging Encompass AI Helper. If you guys don't know about this, it's out there and it's free for now. So, feel free to bang away at it. Has anybody used this? Is it helpful? I don't know if anybody's used it or not, or what the experience is. I haven't really gotten a lot of feedback. I gotten some feedback, and all of it's been positive, which is great. I just don't know if it's really out there for everybody. So feel free to go there, masterencompass.com/AI helper, AI-helper. I'm asking a bunch of questions. It's a closed engine. It's not ChatGPT. It's a closed engine, only has Encompass stuff. It's got the release notes in there from 24.3 for desktop, web, TPO Connect, and Consumer Connect. I don't think I've loaded in all the other pieces yet. There's a few other programs that are getting updated this month. And as you go through and ask questions, again, I'd love your feedback. Let me know what you find out. It's meant to be an AI helper. It's not going to do your job for you. All right, so that was on that agenda. All right, so I got like 8 minutes. I'm going to start at the end. I'm doing a wrap-up event. I just got this approved by ICE. It's a full day of instructions. You can call it training if you want, but that's not what I'm calling it. I'm calling it action planning. It's first time we're doing this. Yes, I'm charging you because we are going to do it the right way this time and not do it with anybody else sponsoring. It's just going to be a one and done. And we're going to be going through everything. It's a full day. It's a full day of taking, again, concepts, turning them into actions, sharing you everything that I can tell you how to do and how to get things over the finish line, how to talk to, how to go through all these. You can read it on your own. I just want to put it out there. But it's on the 13th of March. My plan is it's going to be in the hotel, so you don't have to go anywhere. And, plan accordingly for travel. It's going to go from 9 to 5. We'll be serving food and keeping you well fed, well hydrated, et cetera. But this should be really fun. It's really just how to do everything in person. Yeah. Yep. I agree, Candace. I wanted to be at the hotel too. All right, so that's that part. And now let me get into the fun stuff. Workflow rules. Luba, I posted it once on LinkedIn. If you just go to the link, here, I'll throw the link in the chat. There, it's in the chat. Check it out. Workflow rules. Who's using this, gang? Tell me. Who's using this for schedulers? Who's using this to automate services, tasks, and notifications? I am. Are you? You have one schedule, Uber. That's pretty cool. Candace is using it. Who else? Chris, Kirsten, Jill, Carrie. Cool. You're using scheduler notifications only right now. Okay. Awesome. So again, a reminder, you do not need to use Encompass Web just to use Encompass Web settings. All of this stuff is 100% run when you use desktop, 100%. So Candace, you haven't figured out scheduler yet? Awesome. We're going to talk about that. Here's a demo. I want to run you through this demo of how to use, there it is, how to use the scheduler in combination with notification templates to send out an email to your team 1 day before the LE is due if the borrowers did not sign, and 3 days before the estimated closing date if the ICD is not yet signed. Sound cool? Anybody think that's cool? I think it's cool. So here's the way we did it. I'm going to start backwards. I'm going to show you the automation audit, and I'm going to show you by attempted actions. So remember, you have to sign into encompass.ice.com to get to the waffle. Using the waffle, you can get the automation audit and then search by attempted action. So sending notification in the last 7 days, you can see that we've sent out 22 notifications. We've sent out, as shown here. And if we do starting scheduler, See, we've got 23 schedulers started. And sometimes it fails, right? And when it fails, it's important to understand why. So these are good examples of the scheduler failed to go because there was a field missing from the calculation. It's kind of like getting a runtime error in a field calc. You have to look in the logs to see it. Same thing here. So we saw what was going on. We went and fixed it, and then now it works properly. All right, and then I think that was it, right? Yeah, that was it. So let's go over into how we got there. Chris says I'm gonna be setting up automated flood ordering. Will this audit fail? Yes. So order services. So you can see where we had over the last 7 days, we've had 30 total. We did flood here, fraud here. So yeah, it'll give you a fail, Chris. Always look here for your automation audits. Okay. Cool. All right, let's go into how we did it. What we do is go to admin. When you think about where you want to go, right? You need bookends. Where are we starting? Where are we ending? I always find it's valuable to know where we're ending first. It's like taking a trip. Where are we going? At the end, we want to send out an email when the initial disclosure package is not signed by the borrower 1 day before it's due, all right? And so the idea here is you're worried about not having the e-consent before you send the package out, kind of a thing. All right, and so what we do is first thing we want to start is notification templates. Remember that when you create your notification template, you can have it as an email address or as a role or both. Highly encourage you to manage your categories to not just be other. Also remember, if you're doing TPO, you can only send notifications to your external or your internal, not both at the same time. Get to your sender configuration here also. If you don't want it to come from no reply -mortgagetech@ice.com, you can put your own email address in, send a verification. That link's only good for 72 hours. Take care of that. And then if you want new categories, add as many as you like, so that when you build your templates, you can get your categories lined up for what you need. All right, let's go over to scheduler. A scheduler is a clock. That's all it is. And so if we're setting up a clock here, we want to make sure that this clock goes off, stops, right? The alarm goes off 1 day before the LE is due at 6 a.m. That's that one. The 3-day is set up 3 days before, notice the calendar type, but 3 days before estimated closing date at 6 a.m. All right, how do we put it all together? So we've got our notification, we got our scheduler. 2 rules for every time you want to do this thing. First rule is to start the scheduler. Remember, having a scheduler means 0 unless you start it. So in this particular case, 1 day before LE due, when the initial disclosures are sent is our trigger for all loans. Result is we're starting the 1 day before LE is due. Okay, that's how we're starting. What happens when the scheduler ends? Right, it's running. Now the scheduler ends, and we want to do something. When that scheduler ends, and the first e-disclosure instance is unsigned, I got this from my favorite source for fields, which is in the reporting database, in this case under the e-disclosure tab. So get that date. Pardon me, guys. The result's going to be sending a notification. That's it. On the CD, I'm just going to show you the end because it's easier that way. So here's the starting scheduler. Again, the sending one. Now there's no date for disclosure package because it doesn't work that way. So the condition here is I had to understand what the workflow was. In this particular case, the company, the workflow is they take the signed CD and they put it in this e-folder document. So I simply said, hey, if this e-folder document is not received, my result's going to be sending the notification. How's that for a speed round? I got another couple of minutes. Does anybody want to go over this again? Any questions about this? I know that was like super rapid pace. I don't know what that means. Sure, Chris. What does that mean? Be specific. Which part do you want me to go over again? Because you got about 2 minutes left of my voice. What is my trigger to start this scheduler for the CD one, Jill says? Well, so the way that I started that one was when it was sent, right? So again, the concept is I want something to happen when the CD isn't done. So I used the initial CD sent date to start the scheduler. Jill, hopefully that helps. Alex says, can you explain starting the scheduler again? Yeah, it's really important. A lot of people got stuck on this, including myself, by the way. I got stuck on this. Just because you create the scheduler and it's active doesn't mean a damn thing. It's like having a custom print form. Congratulations, you have a custom print form. What do you want to do with it? And so when you create the scheduler and it's active, that just means it's ready to be used. So how do we use it? We use it in a workflow rule. Okay, so if we want to, if the result is start scheduler, and you can see there's a whole bunch of these, right? Here's one, register min 1 day after funding. Once the funding milestone is completed, the result is starting a scheduler, a 1 day scheduler. Just a random rule. I don't know what the purpose of this behind here is, but Alex, does that make sense to you in terms of, why we have to start the scheduler? Because we want to start the clock. If your clock is 3 days from initial disclosures, well, you got to figure out what happens at least 3 days before initial disclosures. When to use a stop scheduler? This is a little bit wonky right now because it depends on how you built your rules. In my particular example, the way I dealt with not sending unnecessary emails is when this scheduler finished, I conditioned it here, right? To say, only send the notification if this field is empty. If I didn't have that field as empty, I would have to stop the scheduler when the field is not empty so that this actually didn't happen. So I like, it depends on the situation, but in this particular case, I used conditions to say, even when the scheduler finishes, only do something if the following condition is true. Kathleen says, so create a scheduler and then create the workflow rule, and the result is a trigger notification. I just lost you. And to trigger notification, you have to also create a notification. Absolutely. Yeah. So in field trigger rules, Kathleen, right, in the field trigger action, we have the ability to send an email. Yeah, that's desktop. In web, you're going to create the notification here, and then you're going to add that as a result of your workflow rule. Kathleen, hopefully that helps. Luba asks, so if you set up schedulers for 10 days, 20 days, you can reuse them. You don't have to. Yeah, that's right. Luba's getting it. So if you have a particular scheduler and it's a 1 day scheduler, you can use that for anything that you need a 1 day scheduler for. Absolutely. Candace says they use several notification rules and also auto role assignment. That's great, Candace. Kudos to you. Alex says, so you always have to use 2 rules to start us and then take action. You can't have a master schedule rule. It depends on your starting point, right, Alex? So, imagine that when, I don't know, the loan was submitted, you wanted to run a 20-day notice of incomplete action scheduler. You wanted to run a 5-day call the borrower action. You wanted to run a 15-day notification to remind the processor to submit the file, or even better, a workflow task, scheduler to fire that if it's not yet submitted. So this is where you have to think, guys. You're the creators of this universe. Your business is not going to understand how to do this. I'm telling you, hands down. I've been saying this forever for those that have been following me. You got to know your workflow before the technology. If you don't know your workflow, all this stuff is confusing and meaningless. And that's why we're bringing on clients hand over fist, is because the other companies out there, they don't understand that. They just don't get it. So when business owners hear me talk about this, they're like, dude, that guy knows what he's talking about. I'm telling you right now, get your workflow in order. Know your workflow first. Go visit one team this month, and figure out how to give them better working conditions, more insight, better efficiencies with using web settings. They don't need to use Encompass Web. You just need to leverage web settings more effectively. That's my pitch. Alex, hopefully that made sense. You guys are awesome. Listen, keep this conversation going on in the community. Like, ask questions. I know Mighty can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming to find things and to post things. I get that. Which again is why I'm relaunching it next month with I think a better format. More to come on that. More to come on that. It'll just be easier for conversations and stuff. All right. Thanks for putting up with my bad voice. Hope you guys do great. Thanks for the well wishes for getting better. I will do my best. You guys be well. Get ready for this weekend. Tell your teams be prepared. Awesome. You guys be well. Thanks for today. See you now. Bye-bye.